Welcome, traveler. My name is Winkari, and this is The Journey, a Guild Wars 2 podcast. A cozy stop along the road where we share adventures, stories, and the latest news and updates as we reflect on the world of Tyria. Pull up a chair, warm yourself by the fire, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of The Journey. My name is Winkari. This is Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. So happy you're joining us for this, our episode 7. In this episode, we will be discussing Gendarran Fields, my human personal story, Chapter 3, and the Ascalonian Catacombs story mode dungeon. A few life updates for me in my neck of the woods. I did finally kick my cold that lasted way longer than it should have. Unfortunately, there are some more sicknesses in my home. 2 of my daughters are currently sick, hoping to avoid it myself. And other than that, my Chicago Bears had a very adventurous, exciting playoff run. Winning our first game against the Packers was amazing. Nail-biter in our second game, almost won that one, but didn't quite pull it off. But a great season as a Chicago Bears fan. You probably don't care about that, but that's the life updates on my end. Let's jump into our first segment, Waypoint Unknown. For today's Waypoint Unknown location, I'm entering a small cave from a swampy, wet marshland, dark environment. As I walk into this cave, I see some skulls hanging from some rope at the top of the cave. The water continues into the cave, and there's also some cages lying around, also hanging from chains from the ceiling. As I go further in, there are some enemies, some worms, some fiends. And as I get to the back of this cave, I notice there are 2 kind of, not windmills, but basically when you power things by water. The word's escaping me right now, but they are working together through a bunch of motors and levers and pulleys, clearly to run something. I look to my right and there are some makeshift giant wooden cages, some more enemies. To my left, there's a giant worm towards the back, some more cages, some button mushrooms. And there's also some remains of what seems to be animals, creatures. Some skeletons. Even some skins and some fish hanging, drying out as well. As I turn around towards the center of the cave that had all the levers and pulleys, I notice there's a giant metal spiked drill aimed towards the ground on a wooden platform. Did you figure it out? This one I actually didn't find on my first run-through of this zone. We are in Tyria, in the zone of Keswick's Hills, and in the location of Drathor's Domains. Did you get it right? Again, this one took a while for me to find because if you're not really looking for it, it's kind of on the northeast side of Keswick's Hills. And there's actually a dynamic event in this area that doesn't happen very often. I actually had to come back a couple times to let it kick off. And there's basically a nefarious dude in there running experiments, etc., that you have to take over. I believe is a champion. But that is today's Waypoint Unknown. Next, we're going to move into a segment that I do every once in a while if there's something that maybe I missed, made a mistake on, overlooked, etc. We're calling it the Mulligan.
Are you new around here?
If you remember my last episode, I told us in our calendar section that there's Fractal Rush, World versus World Rush, etc. But I had no idea what it was all about. But I can tell you now that after logging into the game, I got an email from Assistant Subdirector Ranu, whoever that is, that explained Fractal Rush to me. It says, for a limited time, recover Fractal Rush trophies by stabilizing fractals. Your trophies will auto-magically, love that word, sounds very wicked-ish, auto-magically be transferred to our vaults, and fantastic prizes will then be yours to claim based on your contribution. Well, there you go. It's pretty similar with World vs. World Rush, I believe, in that email as well, but of course, I, however, did not do any because I want to do these chronologically as it relates to the story, so haven't gotten to those yet. We'll do those one day. Another thing was, I couldn't remember what the astral currency was called last episode, and I did find out since then. It's called Astral Acclaim. Astral Acclaim, that's that one. Next, I did a mistake. Not necessarily my fault, just an after-the-fact thing that I noticed, is that earlier in last episode, in episode 6, I kept referring to GW2 Journey Pod, and what I realized is that to kind of future-proof our podcast, I needed to change that to GW Journey Pod, which I did, and you hear that later in the episode, but earlier I kept saying GW2 Journey Pod, so let me clarify it, let me let you know, moving forward, GW Journey Pod, that's at my Twitter, that is at my YouTube, and then also for email, gwjourneypod@gmail.com. And finally, if you're paying very close attention, at one point I referred to this zone as Keswick Hill? Not Keswick's Hills, but Keswick's Hill. I did that a few times. I got it right other times, but I do know this. I swear it's not just a hill. It'd be an amazing zone if it were just a giant hill, but I know what it's called, I promise. Keswick Hills. That's the name of it. Let's move into the news.
Any interesting news?
Well, this episode, there is actually a lot of news. Let's get right into it. First, there has been a patch update. That was on the 13th, for those of you who were unaware. Here's a few highlights from that. They added a UI option to hide the nameplates for other players' minions, pets, and similar summons. Several reward boxes obtained from World vs. World and PvP reward tracks now use the new vendor UI, allowing several of these boxes to be opened at once. They increased the total Fractaline Dust rewards from the weekly Fractal Quick Play achievement, whatever that is, and split its rewards to give a partial reward upon each Fractal completion. And finally, various profession skills have been balanced. See the post at guildwars2.com or on the wiki. Many different details on those profession changes, as well as a few other updates as well. The second one is Peering Through the Fog, Designing the Journey to Castora. This is on the Guild Wars 2 website, and just a little highlight at the beginning if you don't know what this is referring to. It says, I'm Chloe Mills, story design lead for Guild Wars 2 Visions of Eternity. I'd like to give you a look under the hood at what went into making the Unending Ocean story instance in Chapter 1, Unscheduled Departures, including the design process for this instance, some technical details of its implementation, and a few interesting challenges we solved. This is a technically complex and ambitious piece of content, so hopefully you find it as interesting as I do. This blog contains light story spoilers in case you wish to avert your eyes now, which is exactly what I did. So any more than that, check out the blog post there, read all about it. Next, a pretty controversial one. This was posted to the ArenaNet website. You can find it on Reddit as well. And it is a new job application, a job notice for a senior writer narrative designer for an unannounced project. Let's go to all the details, including using, I believe, the Unreal Engine, something like that. There's lots of stuff. You can read all about that online, but the controversy, as they say, is that this really makes the speculation as to whether Guild Wars 3 is on the horizon or not. Now, I don't want to operate too much in speculation because it's just that. I will just give a few opinions, though. Am I afraid of Guild Wars 3? Absolutely not. What is the phrase? The only constant is change, right? There's nothing to be afraid of if there's a Guild Wars 3 in the future. I trust ArenaNet will do it well, they'll do it right, and I look forward to it. Selfishly, I wouldn't want it to be coming out tomorrow as I'm jumping back into Guild Wars 2, but I feel confident that even if they did announce something like this, it would be a few years away. As it relates to people getting that fear of, oh, well, why would I keep playing Guild Wars 2 then if Guild Wars 3 is on the horizon? The main reason I don't have a fear about that is twofold. One, Guild Wars 1, I played the crap out of when I knew Guild Wars 2 existed or was going to exist, so it didn't deter me. And second, ArenaNet has shown that even if they do a Guild Wars 3, they will still run Guild Wars 2 just like they have Guild Wars 1, so people can still play all those, and there will be a meaningful reason to do so. That's my 2 cents. Next, there are some in-game item updates, quite a few actually. The Inquest mount package, it contains the Inquest Raptor skin, the Inquest Skimmer skin, that's for 1,600 gems. Tomorrow, January 23rd, unique weapon skins are back in stock at a 20% discount, and that's going to be going until February 6th. Includes things like the Etched Porcelain Great Sword skin, Colossal Greatsword skin, Chain Whip Sword skin, Frost Blossom Staff skin, Disguised Fan Shield skin, and Infernal Roar Warhorn skin. Until the 27th, there are transmutation charges, total makeover kits, self-style hair kits, and name change contracts also available at a 20% discount. There's also the Plush Pals 2 Homestead package, and that includes one of each decoration and will unlock crafting recipes for all the items. It's available for 800 gems. It contains the Plush Chick Pal, Vulpine Pal, Cuckoo Pal, Raptor Pal, and Bunny Pal. Next, inside each chest, you are guaranteed to find a redeemable black lion statuette, a fine black lion die canister, red, and 2 common items. That's the black lion chests. You also have a chance to find something rare in the 5th slot, including special items, glyphs, and skins from the Red Crane weapon collection and the Void Corrupted weapon collection. And if that isn't all, the Vermilion Staff is a new exclusive drop from Black Lion chests. Finally, on Friday the 16th, they restocked their back slot items at 20% discount, and that goes until January 30th. Make sure you check out some of their favorite items like the Villainous Cape and Hood combo, the Ice Reaver Cape, Winter Monarch Cape, Defiant Glass Backpack Skin, Glittering Wings Backpack, and Magical Cape. Take a breath. Finally, last piece of news is this. Upcoming Guild Wars 2 Twitch live stream. That is going to be tomorrow, Friday, January 23rd at noon Pacific. Again, that is on Twitch. And they will be discussing upcoming raid changes. So if you want to check that out again, tomorrow on Twitch, Friday, January 23rd at noon Pacific.
My time is precious.
Moving on and looking at our calendar, our precious, precious time. This week, the 20th through the 27th, specifically, World vs. World Rush is going on. You can check all about that on the wiki on guildwars2.com. Completing achievements will award champion points, with more challenging achievements granting extra points. The points are automatically consumed and progress the meta achievement up to 100 points. Players will receive in-game boost, Greater Call of the Mists, when they're in World vs. World.
How are your endeavors progressing?
As we check out the Wizard's Vault, there isn't anything specific to make you aware of other than this. By the time we have our next podcast episode, your special objectives will have expired. What does that mean? As of this recording, you have 12 days left on your special objectives. So you haven't checked those out, open up your Wizard's Vault. You can click on the daily, weekly, and then special. And again, 12 days, because I believe that gets us pretty close to their reset seasonally of objectives, rewards, etc. That's it for all the stuff. Let's move into our main portion of the show, our Tales of Tyria.
I have so much to tell you.
If you remember from last episode, we left off leaving Keswick's Hills, not to be confused with Keswick's Hill, blink blink, and we moved on to the next section, the next zone for the humans, and that is the Gendarran Fields. I was really excited to do this, really excited to do a new zone, all that comes with it. Unfortunately, something I came across right away was a bit off-putting, and that already leads us to today's Dear ArenaNet. Dear ArenaNet, as I began exploring the caves nearby First Haven Outpost, I came across a beautiful little spot nestled in the back corner of a series of cavernous tunnels called Melandru's Cenote. I was captivated by this beautiful nook filled with lush vegetation, a statue of Melandru, and cascading waterfalls along the outer wall. It was beautiful, yes, but slightly spoiled by what happened next. As I always do, I like to explore every nook and cranny of the areas I'm in, so I promptly mounted my Springer and jumped up the mini waterfalls to see what was at the top. Upon doing so, I noticed that when I jumped higher than the top of the cave, I could see into the neighboring zone of Keswick's Hills. The problem, however, was that instead of actually seeing the zone layout of Keswick's Hills, all I saw was water. Lots and lots of water. Essentially a vast ocean of nothingness, and I thought to myself, well, that's immersion breaking. Now, I know these zones were first designed when mounts weren't a thing, and I know it makes it easier to not have to load more than one zone in any given instance, but can I make one small request? At least provide a very low-res outline or foggy version of the neighboring zones. Since you decided to go the route of instant zones in Guild Wars 2 instead of a vast open world, I think this would be a fair compromise, and would help emphasize the massive in your massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Sincerely, Winkari. After our little escapade in the sky looking at the water from afar, the first quest that caught my eye in this zone was an escort quest with Denton the Durbale, or Durbali, I don't know what that means, and his raccoon chief Chirpa. It was an interesting escort quest. What was most interesting about it was that it had a stand and fight section where you had to control an arrow cart. This was pretty cool as the enemies are coming at you. It was a nice change of pace, although the controls were a little janky. And once I finished the escort quest, he tells me, "Oh, you mean Chief?" Because I asked about Chief Chirpa. He says, "Ages ago I was running from some Seraph in Queensdale. They were about to catch me when this little guy dropped out of a tree right onto the head of the lead Seraph." So I asked, "Well, then what happened?" He said, "Well, it's pretty tough to carry out a pursuit with a terrified raccoon on your head. Long story short, I got away. Chief followed me, and we've been friends ever since." Love little mini story within the story there. You actually end up finishing that escort quest at the Bad Omen Beach. That's his final location, where he sells a healing seed pod as an item. It's a really awesome one-time use item. I highly recommend looking this up, maybe watching a video, because it's beautiful. You plant it into the ground, it grows and sprouts, and then it heals you. Very cool animation. This area, the Bad Omen Beach, is also a pirate camp, which is the location of today's Tyrion transmission.
Cannot parse message. Please restate.
15 men on a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.
Drink and the devil had done for the rest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.
The mate was fixed by the boatswain's pike,
The boatswain brained with a marlin spike.
and Cookie's throat was marked belike.
It had been gripped by fingers 10,
And there they lay, all good den men.
like break a day in a boozing can.
Yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.
You've been warned that if things get sung in this game, I am very much inclined to include them in our Tyrion transmissions. Was that hilarious? It was like if pirates learned karaoke. That's basically what that was. That's today's Tyrion transmission. Hope you enjoyed it. Look forward to many more of those fun clips moving forward. Moving on, in the Lawan Ponds nearby, there's actually a scratched tree. This is pretty interesting. You can actually click on it, and it says that there's something carved into this tree, but it's difficult to read. You can barely make out 2 5s and the letter M. Now this one, I had no idea. Had to go to our wiki, and it came through, as it usually does. It says, the tree's inscription 55M refers to 55 Monk, a popular Guild Wars 1 monk a class build. It was often used to farm Nebo Terrace, which corresponds to southwestern Gendarran Fields in Guild Wars 2. That's pretty cool, huh? Little Diet Coke Echoes of Tyria lore bit for you. Speaking of Nebo Terrace, that was my next section. This was a really interesting town in the middle of a battlefield. There were multiple dynamic events with the centaur attacking, and at one point there were more than a dozen in the town square rushing through, and the battle got crazy intense. Thankfully we had enough people to finish this one, but really enjoyed this town, these dynamic events. And in this town specifically, it holds today's Hidden in Plain Sight, a segment where we uncover something that is secretive, often overlooked, or unique.
How interesting.
If you go to Nebo Terrace right now, go to the inn. Unfortunately, you cannot go in the inn, but here's the interesting part. It is complete with NPCs that are actually talking inside with dialogue that you can hear, but you can't go through the front door. And I'm wondering to myself if this was originally planned, maybe it was something that the developers never finished, maybe a personal story quest. You could even look through the side of the front door. So if you go to the front door there's a little slit to the left there, and you'd actually see inside NPCs walking around and a staircase leading up. Curiously, even more than that, now here's the really interesting part in my mind. You can click on the characters from outside the building, and it's the only building that doesn't let you jump on top of it with a mount. True story. I got on my Springer, jumped on top of the building, and every time I'd land on the roof, boom, it would shoot me back towards the front door. True story. You can look at a video of this on my Twitter page, GW Journey Pod, on Twitter, and see it with your own eyes. There's also an old woman named Merle in this Nebo Terrace town who has a lot of spunk and wants to fight all the bad guys. At one point, she even goes up to the captain and he tells her that he will take issue with her if she so much as lifts a soup ladle. Just little bits like this make this town really vibrant, quirky, and one of the more unique outposts I've come across thus far. Lots of character, really enjoyed this one. Also, when you talk to Manda and Frayne at the Stone Guard Gate nearby, they tell you that the outpost was originally a makeshift fairgrounds. So again, this is a different section at Stone Guard Gate. I believe it's a northwest section. They tell you that it was originally a makeshift fairgrounds complete with battle pit. So when I talked to the elderly commentator that was there at the pit, he's cleaning it up and he says that I was a little early for the fights and that the next fight was for a, quote, special occasion when all the good fighters come out. So I'm curious, maybe this is a dynamic event, maybe this is a holiday event, but hopefully this is something that holds true later on in the game. Nearby at the Blood Hill camps, I had to free prisoners, disrupt the centaurs, and I did like this dynamic event at the top where I had to work up their rock dogs in their giant cage, so much so that they would start attacking their owners, which was very gratifying. And then after this, another great section, Ascalon Settlement, I ran into a covert agent of sorts named Carlin. He said there were rumors that the centaurs to the north have either captured or are breeding some hideous war beast that they plan to unleash, ... So I'm thinking maybe that's going to happen sometime. Next, I talked to Lord Penley Marduk in this town, which was more than the simple interaction I was expecting. Get this. He says his wife is away buying things for their home. However, when I talked to his servant nearby, he said that him and his wife haven't been the same since their son was killed fighting centaurs a few years back. Since that time, his wife has started taking more and more trips, and he has gotten meaner. She often goes to Holbrook, they say, with money, but never brings anything back. So I'm thinking, I wonder if I can find her in Holbrook. And I wonder if there's more to this story. So I did just that. I quick traveled to the city of Holbrook, and sure enough, she is there. She is walking through the trade commons, complaining and clearly trying to cope with her pain by shopping, and not wanting to return to her home that reminds her of her dead son. Now these are little nuggets in the game that ArenaNet does not have to do. And that, to be honest, probably I would assume 95% of the player base will never really pay attention to this, or even realize this dynamic of two characters from afar and the whole story behind it. But I noticed. This also resonated with me because in my personal life, I lost my oldest sister at 42. She passed away suddenly, leaving behind a husband and 3 children, and obviously siblings and parents, etc. And I've seen firsthand in my personal life my parents not wanting to go to the town that my sister passed away in, and trying to cope in their own unhealthy ways. That's when you know a game is special. That's when you know a developer is special, when they do things like that. And you yourself as a player can connect and resonate and have the game be more than just a game. Kudos to you, ArenaNet. I also noticed that when I visited the graveyard in that town, if you go at night, you see an interaction with 2 of the fallen spirits at the edge of the cliff. That's a nice little touch. Shortly after that, there was an invasion by the centaur that was kind of foreshadowed earlier by that dude. And it ended up being even more fun than the Nebo Terrace one, complete with that kind of war beast, that centaur war beast showing up and fighting. Really enjoyed that one. Great town, smack dab in the center of that zone. Big fan. Up north, there was an awesome mini-dungeon named Provernic Crypt, where you dodge a bunch of booby traps, you fight oozes and spiders. That one's a lot of fun as well. Felt like Indiana Jones, to be honest. As I finished that one, there was a second roller beetle time trial around the lake, which took me a handful of tries to get a hang of the controls, I must admit, and the route as well, but eventually got gold by my second try. Next, I went into Lake Gendar, which I'm now putting 2 and 2 together and makes sense that it's the Gendarran Fields, Lake Gendar. I was wondering where that reference was, and I figured it out. There we go. I found my second ornate chest there. I had to defeat 3 more veteran crates, so I'm kind of learning the cycle of how that works. I also happened upon Melagan Shrine, which is apparently a shrine to the Quaggan god, and their passkeeper said that she was killed long ago, murdered by the crate. They also said that they are happy that the human gods are still alive, but lost since theirs is dead. Is this foreshadowing? I don't know. A quick wiki search found that apparently their goddess is just a representation of Melandru? I don't know. I'm assuming we'll see more of this throughout the game. Next, I came across the second Ether Blade site, and I'm thinking, what's the first? I almost missed it, but I did see something at the last second kind of hovering above this rock face, so I jumped in, and it uses different mechanic plates to travel up and across to get to the entrance to this hidden cave that's projecting a rock face that doesn't actually exist. The inside was super impressive. Please check this section out. It's got multiple mobs to kill, various paths to take. There's even a flashing tube that I, of course, jumped into. So this tube is flashing after you fight some mobs, and I'm thinking, I want to see what that's all about. Jump into it, and it magically transports me way outside to a water source, plopping me down into said water. And I audibly responded, that's amazing. Even in my anger that it threw me outside this kind of mini-dungeon jumping puzzle. So, that being said, after spending way too many minutes trying to complete this puzzle, I had janky internet at the time, a laptop that didn't want to keep up graphically, mobs that were spawning over and over again. Can we please change this? I decided to revisit it later. I came back later, and with the help of a mesmer, I was able to complete the jumping puzzle. And after many tries, oh my gosh, there's the jumping puzzle section where you get your chest, but there's an alternative path where you get to a goggles diving point. Holy mackerel, did that take forever. Not only to get there, but then you have to jump and fall and fly through the sky and land in a very specific body of water without dying. Let me tell you, it took forever. I finally did it. But I must say thank you, Lunari Shadestalker, if you are listening. Thank you for your patience, my mesmer friend. Thank you for your help. Could not have literally done that without you. I will say it was an adventure, but I will be perfectly honest, I will not miss this jumping puzzle or diving point. Later, I came across Klaka the Brain, a little Asura. It's a hero challenge. He challenged me to a fight, or he said that I could, quote, dance the famous pirate polka. And I'm like, what's that all about? I did the dance emote. I didn't do anything. Looked it up on Wiki, and Wiki actually taught me that phrase, dancing the pirate polka, that's just another way of saying walking the plank. There you go. That's your PSA for the day. Nearby Brigantine Isles, I fought a bunch of pirates in their island hideout. This was a fantastic renown heart filled with memorable pirate dialogue, as well as an opportunity to fire cannons at the enemies. That was fun. The art design is also just top-notch. They use the remains of these pirate ships and kind of makeshift and move them all around, repurposing them. It also made me miss the old Lion Arch, because it had similar architecture there, but I digress. Next, I came across the Vigil headquarters up in that northeastern section of the zone. I learned that Javi Joris Dottie would make more sense now I'm thinking about it, directly reports to General Soulkeeper, and that she's a descendant of the great hero Norn, Jorah, hence Jorah's Dottie. Get it? I guess that makes sense, because this is kind of a sidebar. It's not in my notes. I had an exchange student friend in college from Sweden, and his last name was Carlson. And to make a very long story short, I learned that this is a common practice where the last name goes back to being Carl's son, hence Carlson, or Ericsson would be Eric's son. So I'm kind of thinking it makes sense that they would kind of use that culturally. Jorah's Dottie. Jorah's Dottie. Yeah? Maybe it's a stretch. I don't know. While I was also there, I overheard a conversation of NPCs that said that they should try to check in on Cantha and help them. But another person said we shouldn't because we haven't heard from them. Referring to Cantha, which I do remember from Guild Wars 1. So I'm thinking that's a little bit of foreshadowing. I went into the headquarters building there, but obviously wasn't part of the order, and it was pretty lackluster. There's just this main circular room that breaks off into two, but you can't go in them, so, meh. Later I came across the Almutin Estates, a really, really unique set piece. It's home to this rich family where I first cleared out some pirates that had taken over the estate. I talked to Master Relk, who said that he retired 3 years ago from the Lion Guard, and that his wife wanted to move out to this rural area, but he prefers the city life. He explains Lion's Arch has its origins as a pirate stronghold, as they tried to protect themselves from the Orion undead. Is it Orion? Orion? I guess Orion would make more sense, right? But that also makes sense why the old Lion's Arch was the way it was. They're trying to protect themselves from the Orion undead. I talked to a security guard, and he explains that during his service as Lion Guard, he jailed a slew of pirates, and they're bitter of this and plotting to kill him. Hence these attacks. So, as the pirates attack again, outside I talked to Brack, this NPC, who says that he's the family's brother, and he hired the pirates to steal their antiques and sell for money. Ultimately, it showed that he resents their money, and he thinks that they look down on him, and this is kind of his way of getting back at them. Moving on, one of the borders of the zone I came across has this area that I couldn't use my mount, which, Spidey sense is telling me, probably a jumping puzzle mini dungeon nearby. Sure enough, I saw an NPC, or a couple NPCs that were on this ridge that I couldn't quite reach, so I just kept searching. I eventually found this opening to a cave called Swashbuckler's Cave. So you go down in there, there's this sign that says greed leads to death with a chest far in the distance, so me being an idiot, run over to open that chest and shink! Spikes come up, kill you instantly when you loot it. Nice little touch. At the bottom of this watery cave, there's a pirate den where you have to light torches, but it didn't do anything. So I swam below this watery area. I noticed that there's a rock face that's kind of half broken with debris, and I'm thinking, okay, you gotta get through there somehow. So I had to look it up on Wiki, and apparently there's sometimes a glitch in this section if you find yourself in there. You have to light all of those torches, and then a veteran pirate is supposed to spawn at the top, and you have to go kill it in that timer. So when you do that, which I did, it worked. It crumbles that wall down in the water, and then you can swim through. At the end of that, you come across 2 NPCs, those ones I saw earlier, that have this item, Phil Thackeray's Magical Moa Feed. Hey, it's that guy from Queensdale, remember? That guy that was, either stealing Logan's name or not, we don't know. But they give me this item, it gives me the speed to do this jump nearby and loot a magnificent chest. Unfortunately, I didn't drop the feed like you're supposed to, so these 10 Moas that are circling the chest, yeah, they all fought me. And I had to fight for my life. Luckily, I survived and I got the chest, but what a great designed mini dungeon. Great variety, great story, and exploration required. Really, really enjoyed that one. I think you will as well. My adventures took me to Junction Haven, where I talked to Mac after thwarting a dredge attack that happened upon the fort. And this NPC tells me that the dredge, this race, gained independence from the dwarves and is advancing their own technology. He also says that the dwarves are absent. Curious. Nearby, I came across Icegate Gorge, but I noticed all it had was a waypoint and a hero point, but not much else. Thankfully, after a couple minutes, a dynamic event popped up, gave me some content. But I'm wondering to myself, why is it called Ice Gates when there is no gates? And my suspicions were correct. I looked it up on the wiki, and this is what it says. Prior to Escape from Lion's Arch, which is Living World Season 1, there was a portal leading to Lion's Arch via Postern Ward. The pass was collapsed by Bouncer Keena and Captain Smash when Escape from Lion's Arch went live. Quote, a newly hastily erected Asura Gate connects to the German Priory and Lornar's Pass, while the northeast exit to Icegate Gorge and Gendarran Fields has been permanently blocked. So, in case you're wondering it, or wondering it when you get there, that is why. The last area to complete in Gendarran Fields for me was Volem's Battle Pit. This was an awesome Renown Heart. There's this aforementioned battle pit where you challenge various difficulties of mobs, which I did, but there's also a dynamic event which you have to do if you go to this section. You fight groups of mobs that essentially culminates in fighting the guy that's running the pit himself. It's a very satisfying way to end that event, but also a really satisfying way to end the map in my mind. Next to it, there seemed to be this tombstone that, if you're not looking close enough, you will overlook. And this brings us to our lore segment for today, Echoes of Tyria.
Knowledge is the greatest treasure.
I promptly clicked on said tombstone, and when I did so, a spirit named Anton came out of the ground. He tells me that he used to be an assassin for the Ebon Vanguard. He spent most of his life in Sirmia, don't know where that is, and after he escaped, he felt empty inside and joined the Vanguard. Ultimately said he was an artist and that death was his medium. So I figured, this is really random. There's clearly got to be more to this story, and sure enough, there is. His story is from, you guessed it, Guild Wars 1. The wiki says that Anton is an Ascalonian who once lived in a village near Sirmia. When the Char first began their invasion, Anton struck a deal with one of their leaders, Rend Ragemauler, exchanging information for the safety of his friends and family. He was discovered by his fellow countrymen, however, and taken prisoner. He awaited execution at Sirmia when the Searing and the Char invasion occurred. As a blessing in disguise, this cataclysmic event allowed Anton to escape his prison. However, upon returning home, he discovered that his village and his family had been massacred by the Char. Between then and 1077 AE, Anton hunted down the Char in hopes of revenge, and had begun seeking out Rend Ragemauler without luck. He was eventually captured by the Char and was rescued by Captain Langmar and was recruited into the Ebon Vanguard. Though he told them that he was a prisoner in Sirmia when the Char invaded, he never told the Vanguard, even Langmar, the circumstances for his imprisonment. He was present at Captain Langmar's expedition, which Gwen had stumbled upon in the southern Char homelands. And in 1078 AE, Anton had finally heard of Rend Ragemauler's whereabouts during a mission to rescue Scout Winslow. Obsessed with revenge once more, he searched until he learned of Rend's destination and confronted the Char. When Rend was outmatched, he pleaded for mercy and offered a deal. Knowing how Rend treats his deals, the assassin refused and ended Rend Ragemauler's life. Having abandoned his post in service of revenge, Anton felt he could no longer return to the Ebon Vanguard. Captain Langmar had similar feelings and placed him under the Hero of Ascalon's care, which is you if you play that game, so hero character. So, fitting, right? A fitting story, and even more fitting when you read his tombstone. It says, "Rest in peace. I told you I was sick." Man, what a way to end the zone. Guys, what is our verdict for Gendarran Fields? Well, it was a fantastic zone. I loved it. Tons of variety, great set pieces, amazing towns, villages, characters, lore. Really not much more I could ask for, if I'm honest. There's a few parts of the zone that might be a little sparse, but everywhere else is so well conceived, so well thought through, jam-packed with compelling content, and of the 3 zones so far, it is definitely my favorite. Wasn't already obvious, my grade for the Gendarran Fields is an A. After finishing Gendarran Fields, I moved on to Chapter 3 of my human's personal story. At level 30, I was invited by Countess Anise to see Queen Jenna. I go to her court and she tells me that Risen have been sent, or have been seen rather, at Lichcroft Mere, and that I need to join one of the 3 orders to deal with it. Queen Jenna tells me that these 3 orders study the Elder Dragons, and Logan tells me that the Vigil was founded by a Char whose warband was corrupted by the Crystal Dragon, so she had to kill them all. She resigned from the Blood Legion and started a worldwide volunteer militia, the Vigil. So I went and I met with representatives of the 3 orders. The Order of Whispers tells me they're looking for someone who went missing before the Risen appeared, but won't say who. I then had to decide whether I was going to go in guns a-blazing with the Vigil or go in quietly with the Dermot Priory and use a new magic item to protect the children. When I checked the wiki, the brute option seemed pretty boring, so I chose the Dermot Priory option. The actual quest, however, was quite bland, unfortunately. I just ran into each child in the swamp, clicked on them, they were given this magic shield to protect them, and they escaped. And in the entire one, I had to do maybe 2 or 3 Risen that I needed to kill. It's kind of meh. Next, I returned to the Salma district, my home district, and while I was there, I came across Gronk. This is not part of my personal story, but it's this giant troll-looking monster in one of the shops. And he tells me that I'll, quote, never find these horrible toys, like ha ha ha, which I'm assuming is kind of their variation of the Grinch. And when I ask where they are, he says to find him something rare and warm, to find them, and to find Seymour Oxbone, his foods are, quote, not the norm, and that he's somewhere in Divinity's reach. So, these 2 kids nearby tell me that their ornaments offended Gronk's totem, which is why he took him in the first place, and hid them away. And that the kids also say that Seymour takes his cart to different cities and parties every day, or different cities and places every day. So, I looked it up on the wiki, and this is actually a Winter's Day scavenger hunt quest, for those of you who don't know. But since I didn't want to travel to the zones I hadn't been yet, because it varies, I decided to put this off till later in the game. While I was in the Salma district, I decided to visit the tavern, just to check it out, see if anything's changed since I was there last. And inside, there was a few changes. There was a jukebox where I could purchase in-game music. The only thing that I could afford was a single from Path of Fire. I chose track 2, A New Journey. Of course I did. Quite appropriate. And nearby, there's a woman named Maddie who challenged me to Belcher's Bluff, this little mini-game, but I couldn't quite get the hang of it, to be honest. I lost twice, decided to quit while I was behind. After meeting up with Logan and the Orders, finally, I'm told I need to either investigate a missing Seraph soldier with the Order of Whispers or fight with the Vigil. I chose to investigate the Seraph because I figured there would be more story to be had than, just fighting. Eventually, the trail takes me to Keswick's Hills, and I meet up with Agent Ehan. He tells me that Kellic, the Seraph, has left a trail in his wake. I fight some Risen. I'm told that Kellic had been muttering about Or, Zaitan, and a seer named Alastia Crow, who used to be a pirate and now hangs out with the Ravenous pirate crew. He tells me that they consult her sometimes because she can predict the future, and that we should pay her a visit. Afterward, I return to Salma, the district, to confer with everyone. Their scholar Josir tells me that the Ravenous crew, including Alastia Crow, had been killed 2 days prior by the undead. To tell me that I can either infiltrate the pirate camp with the Order of Whispers or confer with the spirit of Alastia Crow with the Priory. So I chose to infiltrate the pirate camp, disguise myself as a pirate, and after fighting off some undead, the pirates tell me that Kellic had looted an Orion cruiser under the dragon's nose and decided to take all the treasure. But what came with it was a curse. This curse was obviously not something that he wanted, and he returned and demanded that Alastia cure him. But the undead followed him there, destroyed their ship, he stabbed her, and as her last words to him, she lied, saying that he needed the blood of royalty for his cure. I met up with my gang at Salma District and was told to choose an order, officially, to try and save the Queen, and I chose the Order of Whispers. Ultimately, for me, I don't know how you guys made this decision or when you come to it, how you're going to make it for yourself, but for me, it really came down to kind of the mystery, hidden stuff of the world that was a draw, but then also they have these hidden bases, and I didn't want to have FOMO, fear of missing out. So those are kind of the two things that tipped the scales for me. Chose the Order of Whispers, go to the throne room, and Countess Anise tells me that the Shining Guard, they exist to guard the throne, and that they protected and advised the rulers of Kryta for generations. She says that she's here specifically to make the illusion of the Queen seem authentic, to set a trap for Kellic. When I asked her if she can fight, she says, "Fight? Darling, I devastate." What a great line. It's like a bumper sticker. Logan tells me that if there is a purpose in my life, it is to keep her safe. She is Kryta. So I'm thinking, is this duty? Is this love? Is this both? Kellic finally arrives. My character tells him that Alastia Crow lied to him because she wanted to use him to kill the Queen. But I'm thinking to myself, what would a pirate's motivation be for killing the Queen, though, like Alastia Crow? Am I missing something? I don't know. After defeating him, Logan says that his feelings for Jenna go beyond mere duty, so it is confirmed. He also tells me that his friend Kaith is a Sylvari, a scout in his old guild Destiny's Edge, and that she never accepted that their guild fell apart, and that she wants to meet him in Lion's Arch and that I should join. Agent Ehan tells me that the Master of Whispers leads the Order, but his identity is a secret. and that 3 preceptors carry out his directives, and that I'm to meet my mentor in Lion's Arch. Around this time, I received a letter in my mail from my herald, whoever that is, saying to go to Ascalonian Catacombs with minimal background given, except that the meeting between my mentor and other members of Destiny's Edge did not go well. So, I made my way over to that area, entered the dungeon, and this intro video welcomed me.
You're not the reinforcements I expected, but you'll do. That fool Norn Air has stirred up the ghosts down here. Let me brief you. This place has a history, and I don't want your ignorance getting us killed. This was originally Char land. The humans pushed us out and built Ascalon on top of it. Over 200 years ago, we took our land back. King Adalbern watched his soldiers panic as we breached the city gates. Facing certain defeat, the doomed king refused to surrender.
Retreat? Retreat is not an option!
Adalbern smashed his ancient blade Magder. Cursed Ascalon.
You will not abandon me!
The blast incinerated the attacking legions and turned the defending humans into vengeful spirits.
We will never surrender! Never!
The ghosts see the living as invaders. They show no mercy and no weariness. Only blind hatred. Adalbern's hatred. And now, Air's gone right into the dead king's lair. What a mess. We're going after her. She's causing trouble, and I don't want anyone dying because of her foolishness.
So, in short, Air has gone into the catacombs, but we don't know why. And this has riled up the ghosts of Ascalonian Catacombs. So, I used the LFG tool, was able to get a party of 3 together pretty quickly. And they said we could do it with the 3 of us instead of the 5, and we set out. I really liked that there were booby traps and ways to turn them off. This kind of keeps the group from simply zerging through everything, which I really appreciated. I also like that throughout the dungeon, they have dynamic events in your dungeons. Like, for example, they have trolls, other monsters that can show up at different parts of the dungeon depending on when you run it. Kind of random. Eventually we come across Air, but there's not much of an introduction to her. It's kind of just throwing you into meeting her. She does say that she came in to find Adalbern's legendary sword Magdir, however. But Ridlock says that it was destroyed when the king set off the foe fire, but Air thinks it survived. She says that Ridlock wields the sword's twin, Sahothin, which belonged to Rurik, Adalbern's firstborn son. We venture further in and come across Adalbern's spirit after defeating his guard and lieutenant, and he says that we need to defeat his champions as they prepare to invade the surface. We also see that Magdir had survived nearby, albeit broken, and that Magdir was forged in ancient ore. So we set out, went to those 3 bosses, defeated all 3, and they were fine. I think they personally do need to do a better job of scaling the dungeon to make it a little more difficult, however. They didn't feel like bosses, to be perfectly honest. They felt like Diet Coke bosses. They were very easy, and just with 3 people, we wiped the floor with them. After defeating the 3rd, apparently 2 more people joined our group, and that was how I learned that your LFG stays open even after you start. So, if you're listening and you want to put out an ad for LFG for a dungeon, remember to turn it off if you have a party that you're happy with, or this will happen, people will just jump in. Because as a byproduct of this, unfortunately for me, is those people that jumped in towards the end there, they just did a beeline to Adalbern, the final boss, and defeated him before I could even reach him. This meant that I had to do the dungeon another time. The same thing happened the second time, and I had to do the dungeon a third attempt to finally run it all the way through with just one other person. So that should tell you something. Me and one other person were able to do the entire dungeon, so just remember that for next time. In the dungeon, I learned that enough of the sword was shattered that a skilled blacksmith could remake it. Air also tells us that after we kill Adelbern's ghost, that she wanted the sword to heal old wounds between Ritlock and Logan. After defeating Adelbern, he tells us that much deadlier things stir beneath us. So I wonder, are we going to go deeper? Is that later in one of the expansions? I like when Guild Wars 2 does this. They put these little nuggets in there that make you wonder, like, oh, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? So, what did I think? Ascalonian Catacombs, my verdict is this. I really enjoyed it. Thought the art design was great, although a bit dark, but it would make sense because you're in catacombs. But it was also, like, visually very dark. I actually had to turn my gamma up, so it's just my 2 cents there. I did like that it didn't feel like an environment that encouraged you to blitz through, like many do in WoW, for example. Like I said before, I like that there's dynamic events, booby traps, mechanics. But I would like it if the auto-scaling were better to make it more challenging. It seems a little off to me, especially on the bosses, so that you don't finish them so quickly. And I would also like it, this isn't specific to Ascalonian Catacombs, but just a general feedback. I would like it if you couldn't engage bosses that have cutscenes until all players have reached that area. In other words, they should require it that all your party members have to get to the same area before it kicks off a cutscene and or a battle. I think that would be a great quality of life change. I really like that there was great lore background, but I think they could have done a bit more explaining, especially for your very first dungeon in the game. That being said, Ascalonian Catacombs, my overall grade is a B. And with that, our time together comes to a close. Make sure you listen all the way through to the end for, this time, just a single blooper. If you like what you hear and you'd like to keep traveling with me, be sure to follow the journey wherever you listen. I'd very much appreciate that. Also, if you want to rate and review the podcast, I will read it on the show. In fact, we've got one for today.
What a nice surprise.
This review comes to us from Dirtbag Face. That's right. 5 stars, coming from WoW to Guild Wars 2 as well. This podcast is perfect. Host is excellent and fun to listen to. Dirtbag Face, I very much appreciate that review. And any of you guys considering doing that or do it in the future, it just really helps the show with discoverability. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at GWJourneyPod, and if you have any questions, comments, or corrections for me, you can email at gwjourneypod@gmail.com. Special thanks to ArenaNet for our in-game music and sound, and to you for listening. I'll see you next time when the journey continues. As I began exploring the caves nearby First Haven Outpost... Outpost? That's not a word!